Good afternoon. I'm Israeli government spokesman Avi Hyman. Today is day 230 of the October 7th war. Our war aims remain the same: destroy Hamas, release the hostages, and ensure that Gaza does not pose a threat to us. We'll begin today with an update on IDF casualties. Since the outset of the October 7th massacre, IDF fatalities have unfortunately risen to 634. Chief Sergeant First Class Gidon Chai Dero was aged 33 from Tel Aviv. Captain Israel Yudkin was 22 from Kfar Chabad. Staff Sergeant Eliyahu Chaim Emsalem was 21 from Ra'anana. All three soldiers fell yesterday during a targeted raid in the Bet Hanun area. May their memories be a blessing. Our hearts go out to all the families of those soldiers killed in action, as well as those who were murdered, taken hostage, and wounded. On the announcements by Ireland, Norway, and Spain, the Prime Minister said, quote, "The intention of several European countries to recognize a Palestinian state is a reward for terrorism. 80% of the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria supported the terrible massacre of October 7th. This evil cannot be given a state." End quote. Now let's delve a little deeper into this. Other than the October 7th massacre, what exactly has changed in the Palestinian Authority to warrant this prize? They continue with their policy of pay for slay. They continue to educate their children to hate. They still haven't held an election in 19 years. But it's worse than that. Fatah terrorists proudly participated in the October 7th massacre. The Palestinian Authority has not condemned the October 7th massacre. So what is this Palestinian state that you've recognized? It is simply a public declaration that spits in the face of the Israeli people while we fight a war for our very survival against the genocidal forces that surround us. After we witness the unthinkable atrocities of October 7th, after thousands of missiles and drones were shot at Israel from Gaza, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Iran, will putting an Iranian puppet state on the strategic hills of Judea and Samaria, towering over 70% of Israel's population, within eyeshot of the IDF headquarters and Ben Gurion Airport, make Israelis safer? The Jewish people just experienced the worst attack since the Holocaust, and your response is to advocate for the 9-mile-wide Auschwitz borders? If Israel has learnt anything in recent months, it is that our children deserve a better, safer future, not the resurrection of old, failed policies created by blind-sided backseat drivers abroad. A recognition of a Palestinian state does not promote peace. It perpetuates war. Any kind of so-called solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that compromises Israel's security does not mean peace. There will be zero compromise on our security. Our forces continue to operate in the north, south, and central parts of the Gaza Strip against the terrorists. And while we continue to exert heavy military pressure on Hamas and hit them hard, the War Cabinet last night instructed the negotiation team to continue pursuing the diplomatic avenue for the return of our hostages. Now an update from COGAD, which coordinates the entry of aid to Gaza. In cooperation with the Israeli Navy and the US and the United States, the temporary floating pier for humanitarian aid is operational. Yesterday, 27 trucks containing 371 pallets of humanitarian aid went into the logistics center belonging to the international aid agencies. Kerem Shalom and Erez crossings are both open, and 298 trucks entered Gaza. Aid was transferred via the Ashdod port in Israel, the Jordanian route, and the maritime route. A word about Gaza's southern border with Egypt. We've been getting a number of questions about the Rafah crossing with Egypt. Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer yesterday said, quote, Egypt could have helped countless Palestinian civilians get out of harm's way by opening its doors temporarily to refugees leaving war zones in Gaza, like many countries did for Syrian refugees, and like dozens of countries did, including Israel, for Ukrainian refugees. Egypt is now also blocking 2,000 aid trucks from going into Gaza because they oppose Israel's policy on the Rafah crossing. Well, Israel opposes Hamas stealing the aid inside Gaza, but we have not and will not prevent humanitarian aid from reaching Gazans, end quote. That is the end of today's briefing. I'd ask you to put your questions in the chat box and do mention your name and outlet, please.
We have a few questions. The first one is from Benjamin Weinthal from Fox News Digital. Ben is asking, what is the Prime Minister's office view of the German government saying they will arrest the Prime Minister Netanyahu, if the ICC implements ICC arrest warrants? Has Germany abandoned its special relationship and security pledge to Israel?
So I'm old enough to remember the German leader coming here just days after October 7th and standing with Israel and stating that Hamas are the new Nazis. Hamas have definitely proved that they are the new Nazis that seek the genocide of the Jewish people. I think many in the world today need to check their moral compass. They need to be on the right side of history. Israel is prosecuting a just war to destroy Hamas, bring home the hostages, and ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to us anymore. To paraphrase my Prime Minister, nobody, including international organizations, will stop us on this just cause to destroy Hamas, release the hostages, and ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to us again.
We have a repeating question here. This one's from Joel Pollack, Breitbart News. If the International Court of Justice rules against Israel's operation in Rafah this Friday, will Israel suspend the operation?
No power on earth will stop Israel from protecting its citizens and going after Hamas in Gaza. We will destroy Hamas. We will return peace and security to the people of Israel and to the people of Gaza. We cannot go on with a genocidal terrorist regime on our southern border. We will destroy Hamas.
This question is from Dan Williams from Reuters. Please explain the Security Cabinet decision last night to pursue hostage release talks. Is Israel offering new terms or willing to consider Hamas terms it previously refused? Are Qatar and Egypt still mediating these talks?
Dan, thank you very much for the question. We will not negotiate for the release of our hostages via the media. I think we've learnt throughout this war that what's important is that those talks remain behind closed doors, and we hope that they will be fruitful sooner rather than later. We demand the immediate release of the hostages, the unconditional immediate release of the hostages. This war could end today if Hamas unconditionally surrendered and gave back the hostages. We all saw those awful videos that the families released yesterday of those young Israeli girls being harassed. Sadly, we know that they were likely raped. Looking at those Hamas terrorists saying, those are the ones that can get pregnant. What do they mean by that? Are there currently Israeli hostages that are pregnant? Where is the outcry? Me too, unless you're a Jew. Enough is enough. Those hostages need to be reunited with their families. We will do our utmost to bring them home using both military pressure on Hamas and every diplomatic channel available to us.
And the last question that we have from today from Jim Williams, Zenger International News Service in Washington, D.C. In the past 24 hours, all of major U.S. networks have played the 3-minute video of the IDF women terrorized on October 7th by Hamas. Do you think that this will have an impact on those who have protested on college campuses? Also, why did it take so long to be released?
There are so many things that are important to US students, students in America, students across Europe. So many things make them upset. Well, if the images of young Israeli girls being threatened at gunpoint, with the knowledge that so many of them were raped, with the knowledge that some were raped, killed, and the terrorists continued to rape them, if all of that knowledge doesn't move the needle, then those students need to not only get their moral compass checked, but they need to get their mental health checked. Israel stands firmly on the right side of history. Israel is fighting a just war, which we will continue to fight. And no one on earth can justify rape as resistance. No one on earth can justify Hamas's atrocities against the innocent people of Israel. We will continue with our war aims. We will destroy Hamas. We will bring home every last hostage. And we will ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to us anymore. Thank you very much. Wishing you a safe weekend.